When Halo 5 was released, it became very apparent that pro esports was on the mind of 343 Industries. I mean, you can see that they want Halo to have a new imprint in the esports community. Now, personally, I don't really follow the esports community that much. However, I am aware that a lot of pro esports players aren't all that happy with how Halo 5 feels in terms of, well, esports. And that just leaves me here thinking, why? Clearly, if the game is built a bit more for esports, then why isn't it being all that well received by the esports community? Well, a complaint I've heard from watching other YouTubers is that it feels a bit too chaotic and not quite relaxing, which is interesting to me. But then, after considering it, I came to realize Halo's multiplayer has always been about comfort while gaming. Bungie's take on Halo multiplayer was to be fun and fluid while gripping, and still very intense. Halo CE revolutionized the multiplayer experience for first-person shooters, and Halo 2 simply built on what Halo CE did right, and was considered a huge staple for online multiplayer games, and it's also considered one of the best multiplayer games ever. Halo 3 came along and, well, I mean, need I say it, the player base was freaking massive. Halo's multiplayer has always been a core element that is both for casual and for the more hardcore players, and I believe it's simply because the game mechanics were made for people to, well, basically have fun and relax. The game wasn't trying to be over the top with its multiplayer precision scopes and all of that stuff. It was all centered around excellent and balanced gameplay while just kinda chilling with your friends. Let's take a look at a different game, at Dark Souls, for a second. Now, the reason so many people consider this series to be so hard is because at the forefront of the game is the gameplay. From Software focuses heavily on how the gameplay works. When you think about it, Dark Souls' combat is pretty simplistic, but it feels intense and complex because of the way the weapons and encounters are balanced. And now, when you fight another player, it's pretty much a 50-50 shot at who can win. The combat is simple to understand while the encounter feels complex because of the player's skill. The same can be applied to Halo. Each weapon has a purpose in Halo 1, and rarely do guns replicate one another. It all feels fluid, and yet it's very simplistic. Halo 2 took the gunplay of Halo 1 and refined it, and Halo 3 did the same whilst adding even more weapons into the gameplay and still being able to balance the multiplayer. It was fun and balanced, and because it was so fun and simplistic, so many people could catch on with it and enjoy themselves while still having those moments of near heart failure as their shields came down. If 343 wants Halo to become more attuned to pro esport players, then they need to focus on what made Halo so fun in the first place. If a group of people can have a fun time sitting back on the couch and not hunched over with sweaty palms, then they'll be tapping into more of what Halo originally was in terms of gunplay. Now, that's not to say Halo 5 doesn't capture some of these things, but there are a few things with Halo 5 that, in my opinion, just move a little too fast for Halo. Maps also play a huge role. Learning each map's advantage spot is just as rewarding for either positioning or finding specific weapons. Halo 5's arena maps are rather enjoyable for me myself, but with so many new things applied to the Spartans, things feel a little too fast for me. They remind me of like quick running and gunning tactics like in recent Call of Duty games, and if that's your bread and butter, then hey, more power to you. To me, it just doesn't quite feel like Halo. Halo Reach handled abilities in the best way, in my opinion. If you're going to have abilities in a Halo game, then maybe see if you can refine that system of picking up random abilities throughout a certain map, and not give everyone the same options for abilities through Rex. Now, am I saying Halo 5's multiplayer is bad? No, of course not. I can see at a glance just how much effort was put into the modes of Arena and Warzone, etc. But when you add too many things that deviate from the Bungie days of Halo, then it really doesn't surprise me that the esports community might be a little upset or confused as to why Halo feels too fast-paced. There is a such thing as too fast. Maybe Halo just needs to slow down a little, keep the Spartan abilities like they were in Halo Reach and put a limit on them. But I think most can agree that simplicity can triumph over competitiveness if it's done right. Halo CE feels great with its gunplay, and like I said before, Halos 2 and 3 just took that and made it all that much better. It's more pleasurable to play a fun and simple game over a ridiculously complex, too fast, and stressful game. But what do you guys think? You can tell me in the comments along with how wrong you may think I am. I enjoy reading all of your comments. If you want to see more, hit that like and sub button, and have a great rest of your day, guys. See ya.